It isn't hard for me to admit that one of the things I will miss most when I go off to college next year is my 5th period English class. In my class of 22, there are people from Bangladesh, Vietnam, and London. There are people who are gay and straight, liberal and conservative. Collectively, we represent most of the world's major religions, including Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, and even 2 Unitarian Universalists. In a group so uniquely diverse, I cherish the hour and a half I get to spend every other day working through life's complexities through the lens of literature, drama, and poetry. I walk into the classroom, which is marked with a distinct scent of coffee and chalk, prepared for my beliefs and values to be tested, challenged, and examined deeply. Recently, in a discussion centered around The Crucible by Arthur Miller, we stumbled around the philosophy of absolutism versus moral relativity. My teacher questioned whether in our personal lives we believed that absolute truths that are true in every time, place, and circumstance, can exist here on earth. Without a skip of a heartbeat, a girl announced with utter conviction, "God is good." I think it would be an understatement to say that the majority of the class was taken aback by her confidence and certainty. I myself am slightly embarrassed to admit that I became a little uncomfortable. I felt like we had suddenly entered into a scene from the recent blockbuster, God Is Not Dead Part 2. But then we all had to take a step back. We put our preconceived notions regarding spirituality aside, instead seeking to understand her statement by listening and discussing. Eventually, we came to terms with her idea that God is the very force that breathes love into every living thing. We had dead-ended on the idea of love, which in my English class I have come to notice is a very common trend. Love simply seems to present something deeper. The effect love had on the characters we read about challenged so many aspects of human instinct that we were taught to be true in biology and psychology. True, sacrificial love went against everything we had learned to understand through the lens of Darwin and natural selection. When we discussed tragic heroes and their demise, it always came back to their relationship with an authentic love that extended beyond themselves. Even in the characters that seemed the most hopelessly malicious, the one thing that rooted them was a love of at least something. Without fail, love presented itself at the beginning and end of every explanation, understanding, and exploration, and it seemed to link us with something bigger, something divine. But what does love mean? What does it mean to be the breath of love in every situation? By no means do I have any of those answers, and I think it might be ambitious to say that anybody would. The Greeks use over 30 different words to define the intricacies and specifications of what love is. We gather here every Sunday to say that love is the doctrine of our church. I could stand at this pulpit and talk about how love is acceptance, love is unconditional, or how it is a symbol of the eternity. But when I look around and I think about the discussions that we have in our Why Are You class, those are not the aspects of love that I feel are so often forgotten. I am often overwhelmed by how often I see people that are so utterly consumed with the future. What could happen, what might happen, or even what will happen. Fears regarding the next presidential order, or for many of us seniors, the status of our college applications, begin to define the present. As author and activist Corrie ten Boom beautifully put it, worrying is carrying tomorrow's load with today's strength, carrying 2 days at once. Worrying doesn't empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength. While it is terrible and true that we face terrorism at home and internationally, culture and race wars, disputes over fundamental human rights, and gender inequality on a daily basis in our modern world, it is just as important to remember that just in 2015, poverty decreased worldwide to below 10% of the world's population. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage, and the tiger population in India is up 30%. And we don't even have to look that far. Our bodies are beautifully complex organisms that have the innate ability to heal and sustain thoughts and feelings. The sky produces the most magnificent array of colors and textures. But we allow all of these moments for reverence to be superseded by our fears and anxieties of things that are ultimately out of our control. So I challenge you. I challenge you that when you practice being the force of love, that you never forget to love the present moment. As Henry David Thoreau advised, you must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. And in this manner, we shall love.